Hello everyone. In the previous session, we studied what are the index properties of soil, of permeability, and now we'll be studying what are the tests which are there for the coefficient of permeability, and what are the laboratory tests which are there also. Even what is a field test and what are the indirect method tests for doing the coefficient of permeability. If you see the laboratory test in the figure, that means we have laboratory methods, field methods, and indirect method. Whereas coming to the laboratory test, as we all know, this laboratory test will be of constant head permeability test, and next one is falling head permeability test. And if you come for the field methods, you have pumping out test, and next is pumping in test. And if you for the indirect method test, you have computational form of particle size, whatever the particle size which will be taken into consideration, that also. Even for computation of consolidation test is also being done. Now we'll be seeing the first one, as we all not have the pumping in and pumping out test for our syllabus, and even the computational of particle size, that is indirect methods, are also not interlinked with us. So we'll be having only laboratory tests which we will be doing in laboratory and even in the theoretical part also. Now we'll be seeing the constant head permeability test. How this constant head permeability test is being done. As the soil specimen of the constant head, the name itself indicates that it is having a constant head. And what are the equipments to be taken into consideration? The permeability mount, internal diameter which will be having 100 mm, effective height of that will be 127.3 mm, and the capacity is 1000 ml. Completely with all the accessories which will be having, and constant head tank, and you have a constant head tank also, and a graduated cylinder, and even required a stopwatch and thermometer also for doing the test. And how this procedure is done? The procedure is done with mostly for first you have to remove the collar from the mount, and you have to measure what is the internal diameter dimensions which are taken for the mount, and you have to weigh the empty weight of the mount, and even the dummy plate is also necessary in the grams, and apply the grease to the soil. That means you have to apply the grease so that the mold will be there, and even in the even you have a base plate also for that, and even for collar also you have a plate on it. And you have to take 2.5 kg of soil sample. That means you are going to take 2.5 kg of soil sample, which should be mixed wet soil, and it should be compacted. That means it should compact the soil, and whichever dye density is also taken for the compaction. Even after that, you have to take the small specimen of the soil sample in a container, so that you are going to take the what is a water content which is for the particular soil sample, and you have to remove the base plate of the collar and trim the excess soil. That means whatever the excess soil which is present on the soil mold, you have to remove the top mold of it and clean it very clearly, so that there won't be any mass which is present in the mold. The mold with the soil sample now should be replaced with the perimeter, and that should be an drainage, and it's a cap disc properly also saturated. And how this test is being done, the procedure of the test, and that means how the test is being done. Through the top inlet of a constant head reservoir, you have to dig the specimen. Now at the bottom, the open let, it will be open instead. That means it is for the steady flow which will be established. And even for the particular interval times, you have to see the flow can be collected. Even for the measuring of head, how much head it is there, that is total head which will be taken into consideration in the levels for the constant reservoir, and even for the outlet also. If the same intervals will be repeated there for the times also, so that the initial flow will be very slow. Later it will be continuously increases, as the constant head pressure test is best for the only for the cohesion type of soils here. Now we will be seeing about the variable head test method. As we all know, this variable head test method is mostly used for the fairy type of soils. That means less pervious soils will be used here. What are the apparatus which we will be taking into consideration? Mound assembly and compaction hammer, set of standard pipes, constant head tank, miscellaneous apparatus. As I said, in the constant head method, the head will be, that means the head tank will be always constant, the water level will be constant, whereas not for this, whatever the variable test which is done. The procedure, first we have to select the standard pipe of the top inlet, and then you have to record the time also but at particular intervals. Whenever the interval takes place, that means your known interval of head for the initial head, you have to measure it at the center of outlet. Next you have to refill the pipe again, and you have to repeat the successive observations so that the continuous intervals at the same time interval record the drop, how much drop in the head is formed. That initial final value for the first and the second determination should be taken into consideration. Even in the same way, alternative you have to do for the next interval, that means next heads, that is h1 and h2 respectively, so that you will be having the time intervals for t1 t2 like that for individual time intervals, that is h1 and h2 into 0.5, similarly h1 h2 into 0.2. In the same way, if you do the procedure, you will be getting the average value of both of this. The time interval should be taken and the observation should be continuously repeated, and that also the pipe should be standard and it should be refilled also. And if you see this permeability, the whatever the permeability which is taken, that is should be taken in 27 degrees, and you have to 27 degrees centigrade only as per centimeter seconds. And the soil whatever which you are taking, the water content and void ratio also, and even the degree of saturation is also taken into consideration. And now we'll be seeing the what is the problem, the basic problem whenever we do for this soil test, we'll be seeing. If you see the question here, in a constant head permeability test, the following observations were taken. Distance between water piezometer tapping is 100 mm, and difference of water level in piezometer is 60 mm, and the next diameter of the test sample is 100 mm. The quantity of water collected is 35 ml. Duration of the test is done is 270 ml seconds. And the next is determination of coefficient of permeability of soil. As we all know Darcy's law, that is K is equal to Qi. For that formula we have what is length and what is h here. H is nothing but head and L is nothing but the length, that is Q is equal to 350. 350 is nothing but the quantity of water which is collected, that is 350 ml, and 270 is nothing but the duration of test time which is being taken, that is 270 is equal to, you will be getting the, if you are dividing it, you will be getting 1.29 ml per second, whereas K is equal to 1.296 into 10, that is L is nothing but the length which is already given in the question. If you can see the length of a particular soil sample which is already given in the question, that means the test is 10, and that is pi by 4 into d square, that means the diameter which is already given, that is 10 square into 6. The 6 is nothing but here you will be getting a difference level, that means piezometer level 60 mm which is already given, that is we are converting into seeds. Now you will be getting 0.275 meter per second, that means the coefficient of permeability of a soil which we have done for this question, you will be getting it as 0.027 centimeter cube for a particular constant. That means whenever they are asking and giving us to find out the Darcy's law and even the permeability test of a particular soil type of soil, you are going to use this formula, and you are going to calculate in the same way for the determination of coefficient of permeability of soil. Next, only this is for constant head permeability test. And next we will be seeing the next question, that is we have studied about the procedure of falling head also. For that falling head, it is also known as a variable head. Next we will be seeing, as we know this the falling head permeability test was conducted by soil sample. This will be of 4 centimeters dia and 18 centimeters length, and head fall from 1.0 to 0.4 m in 20 minutes. That means it takes in 20 minutes. Its cross section area of a standard pipe was 1 meter cube, and the determination of coefficient of permeability which is taken into consideration, as you have a formula, that is KAL by 80 log E H1 and H2, that means head 1 and head 2. That means you already have in the formula area, that is 0.1 into, and L which is given the length is 18, and divided by pi by 4 into what is the diameter which is given to us is 4, that is 0.4, and into 20 is nothing but here your cross section area which is, and next is time. The time duration of the particular soil sample, it is given for us is 60. Now that means we are considering as a 60 here. That means log E is equal to 1.0 in divided by 0.04. you'll be getting an 1.09 into 10 to the power minus 3 centimeter cube. So by this you are going to determine the coefficient of permeability by falling head permeability test. As we have studied for constant head permeability test in the laboratory, how we are going to do this procedure, test, equipments, apparatus which are present. Even for the basic problem on the constant head also. Even for the variable falling head method also, we have studied how the procedure test has been done in the laboratory. I mean, even the basic problem of this is also taken into consideration. So we'll be studying the next one in the next class, and thank you.